Hello everyone. Before we get started, if you enjoy this video, please like and share. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you. I remember this happening on Christmas Eve. I was at my grandma's house. We were celebrating Christmas there. And I was sharing a bed with my brother and my sister. I was sleeping in the middle. One night as I was sleeping, I heard a tap on the window. It just kept going. Tap, 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 tap. My brother and sister did not hear it, but I heard it. I was wondering what was making that tapping noise outside. And then I started to realize something that scared me. See, my grandmother's house is a 2-story house, and the second story is very tall. So there was no way it could have been a human being unless they knew how to climb a 2-story house. So I slowly got out of the bed, hopping over my sister, and I made my way quietly towards the window as I kept hearing the tapping sound. When I opened up the window curtain, I didn't see anything. I laughed at myself, thinking that I must have misheard something, and then it happened again. Tap, tap, tap. I slid open the curtains, and what I saw gave me chills, and it made me feel like I was gonna die on the inside. What I saw was a woman, but it looked all wrong. This woman had black, stringy, wet hair. Her skin was palish blue. She had long hands, long unnatural hands, and when she looked up, her eyes were black, sunken, with blood coming down from her eye sockets. I yelled to the point my brother and sister woke up. When I tried to show them what happened, the woman was gone. They didn't believe me. They just told me to go back to sleep. I got back into bed, but I couldn't fall off to sleep because I couldn't stop thinking about that woman. Luckily that night, nothing else happened. And I told my grandmother and my mom about it, but they didn't believe me as well. It's fine. But believe me when I tell you, I did see something out there, and I don't know what it was. I used to live on the countryside with my 2-story house. It was a very nice area to live at. It was surrounded by a forest, and I loved it. I stayed there until something really creepy happened that prompted me to move immediately out of that house. It happened 3.5 months ago. I was living at that place with my 2 dogs. Both of them were golden retrievers. Plus, I love taking my dogs out in the forest to let them walk around or to play around a bit. This one particular night, it was getting pretty late, but I know how to navigate to get back to my place. I know it from the back of my head. When we got back to the house, I fed my dogs their dinner, and I made my dinner, and I sat down to watch some TV. 1 hour into watching television, I noticed that my dogs started to act strange, and they were growling while looking outside. I paused while I was looking at it, and I went to go see what was wrong with my dogs. They kept on growling like they were seeing something or sensing something. I looked in the direction they were looking at outside the window, and I couldn't see anything. I was thinking that maybe it could have been maybe a fox or a bear or some sort of wild animal. I went upstairs to grab my pistol because I wanted to fire a warning shot to scare wherever it was that were frightening my dogs away. When I got out there, before I fired off my shot, I noticed something was off. Earlier when I was out there with my dogs, I heard the nocturnal animals that were all around in the forest, reassuring me that it was night and the forest was alive. But when I came back out there to try to scare off whatever was frightening my dogs, I didn't hear anything. It was totally silent out there. There wasn't even a cricket chirping or any of the wild nocturnal animals that you normally hear at night. It was dead silence, really quiet. It was so quiet to the point it was kind of scary. I thought maybe for sure there had been a predator that was roaming around. That was the only reason why all the nocturnal animals were not making any sound. As I was looking around to figure out if there was anything out there in the woods, my dogs kept on growling, and then they started to whimper as they were frightened by something, and then they started barking again while growling. They kept on looking in that same spot, and when I tried to follow their eyesight, I didn't see anything again. I fired a warning shot, even though I probably wouldn't do anything, and I didn't hear anything that sounded like a creature was nearby, or the sound of the gun making them run off to a point where I can hear leaves crunching. No, it was silence. Nothing at all could be heard. I went back in the house and I paid it no mind, and I went back to watch TV again. A few hours later, my dog started to bark again, and they were squealing. They were really getting louder with their barking and scratching on the door, to the point where I had to just get up and let them go out. Maybe they had to use the bathroom. So I let both of my golden retrievers out, and they ran into the forest. I figured that they would be back because they've always run off before, and they usually come back about 15 minutes later. They know the back of the woods too, just like I do. So I sat down and watched television again. I noticed that 30 minutes had passed since I let my golden retrievers out to use the bathroom, and they still have not came back. That's when I heard some noises, and it sounded like my dogs were yelping in pain and squealing. I immediately stopped what I was doing, and I grabbed my pistol that I sat on the side of the table that was near the couch where I was sitting at, and I grabbed it and I went outside. I started to walk slowly into the forest where I heard the yelping and squealing coming from. I walked it slowly and I tried to call out for my dogs, but I got no response. And as I was walking closer and closer, that's when I smelled something horrific. I looked down and I saw my 2 golden retrievers. They were dead. They were killed. But by what? I was thinking it had to been a wild animal, and I was shocked that my golden retrievers were gone, both of them. But I didn't have time to process the deaths of them because I heard a giant crunch in the leaves. I turned around quickly and I saw something. At first I thought maybe it was a person, but then I looked at it and realized it was too tall to be a human being. It was some sort of creature. It was a hairy creature. It was standing about 10 feet tall. It had glowing blue eyes, and it had long arms that stretched all the way down to the ground. It looked at me, blinking, and then it ran off. I was in shock because what I saw was definitely not an animal or a human being. It was something else, but wherever it was, it really spooked me. How it was just standing there looking at me. It spooked me to the point that I had to get out of there. I had to leave my house. I couldn't go back there. Not only because of what I saw, but because this creature probably killed my golden retrievers and I couldn't stay there anymore. So I left and I never looked back. I was only able to carry things that were easy for me to carry and not too heavy. I abandoned that house and I never looked back. A month later, I was able to sell that house and I got everything out of there. My hope is the next person who buys the house, that they're very careful. And if they have any pets, I hope they don't let those pets roam outside the house into a forest after dark. Be very careful to whoever buys this house.